All right, well, sticking to the sock beat, I'm just going to talk a little bit about one of the newest additions to our sock wall, and that is Tukuwool. So it is Finnish wool. It's a sport weight. If you've been in to see it, you'll know that it's a little rougher. It's a little sturdier than some of our other sock yarns. And that is actually great. It's actually great for a lot of projects. I actually think that this wool would be perfect for anything you wanted to do that's kind of a color work, sock, mitt, or fingerless mitt pattern. One of the things that I really love is that a lot of the yarns in this collection go really well together. So for example, the red, you can do red and white. If you wanted to do like something that was kind of close to Harry Potter, you know, that's Gryffindor if I ever saw it. You could do blues, you can do grays. And the other thing to note too is that this wool is actually beautifully heathered. If you look, for example, at any of the blues and even the yellow and this brown, like there are golden hues in here that are just gorgeous. And one of the reasons we brought this in is because we actually wanted to have a sock yarn that is a little hardier and is a little sturdier. So, you know, because we have a lot of really great, really fun yarns. And this stuff is actually, you know, is really going to sort of, it's got a little meat on its bones, if I could use that term. One thing that you're going to want to note is that it is not superwash treated. So you can't put this in the wash like you can with some of our other sock yarns. So you're going to have to treat it kindly when you wash it, but you should be doing that with all your knitting anyway. And the other thing too is the skeins themselves are a little bit smaller than your average sock yarn. So normally, you know, we say to people like one skein, one hank, one ball equals a pair of socks. With these guys, you'd probably need 2 of each. But again, you know what? I would actually use this for lots of color work projects. So, you know, like you have a lot of options when it comes to going through and looking at this wool. So if you're interested in branching out and making something different with your socks, I would actually suggest this as a way to go and a way to try something a little bit different.
So I've been working with a new yarn by mYak. We've been talking about mYak a lot today, actually. I think we touched on all 3 of their yarns that we carry. So this new yarn is called Tibetan Cloud. It came out in October, and we just recently got our shipment here in the store. So this is, I picked out my 4 sort of, these are the 4 colors that I think kind of look amazing beside each other. So that's why I picked these ones. But the color palette is very beautiful. There's lots of softer options. I wouldn't call it pastel-y, but definitely more like soft pseudo neutral colors. And what's special about this yarn is it's a Tibetan sheep yarn. So Tibetan sheep, like Icelandic sheep, are an isolated breed. They only exist on the Tibetan plateau. And this is the very first yarn that's been offered for hand knitting with Tibetan sheep wool. So it's traditionally been used for rugs and other kind of like more sturdy wool applications. But what they've worked out with the shepherds in Tibet is a way to de-hair the yarn and only pick out the softest fleeces so that they could make a yarn that was suitable for hand knitting. So the result is actually like a pretty squishy, soft, delightful 2-ply yarn. So this yarn is technically a sport weight. It comes in a 100-gram ball. But the gauge is pretty flexible on it because it is very loosely spun. So I'm using it right now for Natasha Hornby's Calla sweater. And that is more of a DK weight gauge. So you could use this for any of your sort of DK and sport weight projects. Tibetan Cloud is going to be great for the upcoming spring and summer season. It's super light and airy. It's got all kinds of uses. Like it's a really multi-purpose yarn. You can use it for shawls, you can use it for lightweight sweaters, hats, really wraps, anything that you want. So I really recommend giving this yarn a try. I've really enjoyed working with it, and I'm sure you will too.
So Sami is a new cotton that we've just gotten in, and Sami means kindness in Quechua, which is the native language of the Incas. So some of you guys who were in before we closed came in and you saw this and you felt it and you realized it was beautiful and it was so soft. So this is 100% Peruvian Pima cotton, and it is sometimes referred to as the silk of the South. It comes in a whole host of colors. I've just chosen a few of my favorites because these colors remind me of spring or maybe Easter. This is going to be a fantastic yarn for all of those nice lightweight projects, and I think that you could use this on anything from like a lightweight cardigan or like a sort of a t-shirt style garment to a shawl even. That would be really great for that. Like I said, really beautiful, really sunny colors, kind of like I said, it reminds you of spring, it reminds me of Easter, and I can tell you actually that it has been super popular to the point where I actually think that we are already sold out of some colors.
Yeah, we're getting a bit low, but we'll definitely be reordering this.
Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't checked it out and you're looking for something, also it is actually something for those of you who might actually be a little wool sensitive. Wool is not necessarily for everyone. This is actually a fantastic alternative to that. And it's not as stiff as sometimes cottons can be like a little bit stiff. This is actually really beautiful and soft. So worth checking out for sure.
All right, now we're going to talk a bit about what we've got on our needles right now, and I'm going to go first. I'm working on the Kala sweater by Natasha Hornby, and this is in mYak Tibetan Cloud, and I chose the color Salice Grigio. It's this beautiful kind of steely gray blue color, and gray's not usually my jam, but I do like these colors that are kind of chameleon colors and change a little bit depending on how the light hits it. So it's a top-down sweater, and I was inspired to do it because I did Natasha's Kala shawl in the Fiberco Luma last I guess it was the end of the summer that I did it. And I absolutely loved the Kala cable pattern. So it's this cable pattern that looks exactly like a Kala lily. It's got texture, it's got a little bit of laciness, but she's done such a good job of like breaking that up with some really nice texture, like the broken rib pattern here, and then just some plain sort of reverse stockinette. So it doesn't come off as too girly. It has a little bit more cool factor. And then the other thing that I really like about this pattern is one of the small details, and I haven't gotten there yet, but she does a picot bind off that matches up perfectly with the broken rib. So you get these really cool little bumps that align with each row of stockinette stitch. So I'll have to go back and pick up, this is the neckline here, pick up around the neck and then do those little picots. And then it's the same thing on the sleeves and the main body of the sweater. And she also provides some really good options for fit. So there's bust darts that are optional as well. So for all you busty ladies, it's a great project to help fit the girls in a little bit better and not have the front of your sweater ride up quite so much, which is definitely something that I encounter. Not sure about you. So I'm really enjoying this project quite a lot. And that's what I'm doing for the virtual knit along. And the other one that I'm doing is the Newlands tee. So it's just a really adorable crop tee. And there's a lot of stockinette in it, but one of the really cool features of it is that you do this sort of I-cord cast on, and also you do I-cord edging around the sleeves as well. And that gives it a really sort of nice three-dimensional finished look. I won't lie, it is a lot of work. It does take a long time. It's not hard, but you do have to be a bit patient, and it's a bit of a slog at first, but I think it's worth it for the finished look. And then you do mostly stockinette for a while, and there's a lace detail at the top of the tank. And it's just a nice chill project. And it uses Road to China Light, which is one of the Fiberco's yarns, and that's an alpaca cashmere, camel, and silk blend. Super soft and gorgeous. It's dyed with these beautiful duotones. And this color that I chose is called Morganite. I've had kind of a thing for sort of these light blushy pinks. I think they just are really soft and are reminiscent of spring. So, and it seems like it must be a trend right now too, because a lot of the yarn companies are coming out with these really gorgeous pink and lavender colors. So that's what I'm working on, and now I'm going to pass it over to Sarah, who's going to talk a little bit about what she has on the needles.
All right, well, I was lucky enough to get my hands on a copy of 52 Weeks of Socks, and so I actually decided I had just finished a fingering weight sweater for my sister, so I wanted to do something that was very entirely for me, and I love knitting socks. I was super excited for this book, so you know what, I was also lucky enough to score some yarn at our wonderful Leo and Roxy trunk show. I know a whole bunch of you were able to make it in for that. So I got this gorgeous yarn, and the first thing that I knit, and I've got a second sock to go, so I'm making this pattern from the 52 Weeks of Socks, decided to go straight into it. So I do have one sock to go, but in between that time, our virtual knit-along started, and so I have a real affinity for lace. There's something about the finished project. I mean, it's a lot of work, but you create some of the most gorgeous things you'll ever make in your life with a lace product. So what I'm doing is I'm doing Girasol, which is a pie shawl by Jared Flood. I'm doing it in the mYak Baby Silk. Jared Flood, some of you guys did his Leaves of Grass. We did a pie shawl knit along last summer, and that pattern was really intuitive, and Girasol is no different. Lots of charts, but the charts themselves are very readable. Pattern repeats, very easy to memorize, and I've actually been finding it very comforting to just sit and knit and just do, row after row of this gorgeous lace in this beautiful soft yarn in this green color that looks, honestly, it's like a mossy, foresty green that is just like a breath of fresh air right now. And so that is what I've got on my needles right now, and that is it for this week's podcast. We have loved sharing all of our ideas and products with you. Again, we miss seeing your faces in the shop, but we love seeing you online, so we hope to see you either in a virtual knit-along or in our online shop. Either way, we look forward to connecting with you guys, and we hope everyone is healthy and everyone is safe. And again, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much.